A few months ago, a 68-year-old retired carpenter named Daniel sat down across from me, folded his hands in his lap, and said something I'll never forget. He said, "Doctor, I'm not asking for miracles. I just want to feel like myself again in the morning." He wasn't sick. His labs were what most physicians would call unremarkable. But what was quietly draining the life out of this man wasn't a disease at all. It was something almost every gentleman over 60 is doing wrong before he even finishes his first cup of coffee. And by the end of our conversation that day, Daniel walked out with one simple morning instruction. 6 weeks later, he came back, and even his wife had to do a double take when she dropped him off. I'm going to share with you exactly what I told Daniel. Because if you're a man over 50 and you've noticed that your mornings feel heavier than they used to, that your body takes longer to wake up, that the strength and the steadiness you once took for granted seems to be slipping away quietly, this is for you. And I promise you, by the end of these next few minutes, you're going to understand something about your body that most men never figure out, even into their 80s. Here's what I want you to understand right from the start. In my 21 years of practice as a urologist, working almost exclusively with men over 50, I have watched the same quiet pattern unfold thousands of times. And it has nothing to do with age. It has everything to do with what your body stops receiving and what nobody ever told you to put back in. My name is Dr. Jocelyn, and gentlemen, between us, because that's how I want this conversation to feel, like we're sitting across from each other in my office, just the two of us, I want to tell you something. I rarely say this directly on camera. Most of the men I see in their 60s and 70s aren't declining. They're depleted. And depletion is something we can fix, quietly, naturally, starting tomorrow morning. So here's what I want you to do before we go any further. I want you to commit to something. By the end of this video, I want you to pick one thing from what I'm about to share, just one, and try it consistently for the next 21 days. Drop a comment below telling me which one you're choosing. 21 days, that's all I'm asking. Because the men who do this, the men who actually commit, they're the ones who write to me weeks later and tell me their wives are asking them what on earth has changed. Now let me tell you what changed for Daniel. Because for years, I was watching a pattern in my clinic that I couldn't quite name. Men who exercised, losing ground. Men who ate clean, still tired. Men who took the supplements their friends recommended, no difference. And then there were these other men, quieter, less obsessed with the latest health trend, and they were thriving. The difference wasn't dramatic. It wasn't expensive. It was a small ritual most of them had stumbled into almost by accident. They were starting their mornings by feeding their circulation first, before caffeine, before food, before anything else. And when I started studying what they had in common, what I found in their kitchens was so ordinary, so unassuming, I almost dismissed it. 2 ingredients. That's it. And I'm going to count down through the 5 most powerful morning habits I now recommend to every single one of my male patients over 60, saving the most important one for the very end, because that's the one Daniel built his entire morning around. Let's start with number 5. Number 5 is something I call the warm awakening. Before you eat anything, before you reach for that coffee, you drink 1 tall glass of warm water with a squeeze of fresh lemon. Now, here's what's happening inside your body when you do this. Overnight, while you sleep, your blood thickens. It becomes more viscous, slower moving, almost like motor oil that's been sitting in a cold garage. This is why heart attacks peak in the early morning hours, not by accident, by physiology. When you drink that warm water first thing, you're thinning that blood. You're waking up your circulation gently, the way a good musician warms up before a concert. And gentlemen, why does this matter to you personally? Because every part of your body that you care about, your heart, your brain, your strength below the belt, every single one depends on blood that moves easily. The fix is so simple it feels like cheating. 16 ounces of warm water, juice of half a lemon, sipped slowly over 10 minutes before anything else touches your stomach. One of my patients, Walter, 74, a retired electrician, did just this for 3 weeks and told me his morning stiffness, the kind he'd accepted as just part of aging, had melted away. He didn't change anything else, just this. Now number 4, and this one surprises people. Number 4 is sunlight on your skin within 30 minutes of waking up. I know, you came here for food. But hear me out, because this matters more than almost anyone realizes. Your testosterone, the hormone that quietly governs your energy, your muscle, your drive, your confidence, your testosterone is regulated by a master clock in your brain. And that clock is set by morning light. Not lamplight, not screen light, real outdoor light. When you step outside for even 10 minutes in the morning, coffee in hand, robe still on, doesn't matter, you are sending a signal to your body that says, it's time to produce, it's time to be alive. And here's the part nobody talks about. Men who get morning sunlight produce measurably more testosterone throughout the day than men who don't. So 10 minutes, that's the prescription. On your porch, in your yard, on a slow walk to the mailbox. Your body will do the rest. Which brings me to number 3. Number 3 is a single tablespoon of pumpkin seeds. Now, you might be thinking, pumpkin seeds, doctor? Really? Yes, really. Because pumpkin seeds are one of the most concentrated natural sources of zinc and magnesium on this planet. And both of those minerals are absolutely essential to male hormone production. Picture it this way, gentlemen. Imagine an old grandfather clock, the kind with the swinging pendulum and the delicate inner gears. Beautiful piece of craftsmanship. But over time, the gears need a tiny drop of oil to keep moving smoothly. Without that oil, the clock doesn't stop suddenly. It just starts running slower and slower until one day you notice it's 20 minutes behind. That's what zinc deficiency does to a man's hormonal system. Slow, invisible, cumulative. And by the time you feel it, you've been deficient for years. 1 tablespoon of raw pumpkin seeds, chewed slowly with your breakfast, is one of the simplest fixes I've ever prescribed. I had a patient, Edward, 71, a former insurance broker, who added this single habit and nothing else. 3 months later, his blood work showed his free testosterone had climbed back into the range of a man 15 years younger. He laughed and said his only complaint was that his wife had started buying him new shirts because the old ones were getting tight in the shoulders again. Now we're getting to the important ones. Number 2, and this is where most men's mornings completely fall apart. Number 2 is delaying your coffee by 90 minutes after waking up. Don't click away, gentlemen. I'm not asking you to give up your coffee. I'm one of you. I love my morning coffee. But here's what's happening when you drink it the moment your feet hit the floor. Your body has its own natural waking system, a hormone called cortisol, and it peaks naturally in the first hour or so after you get up. That cortisol is what gives you your morning energy. It's free, it's built in. But when you flood your system with caffeine on top of that natural peak, you blunt it, you confuse it. And over months and years, your body forgets how to wake itself up without the coffee at all. You become dependent on the very thing that's draining your natural vitality. So just push it. Push that first cup of coffee back 90 minutes. Drink your warm lemon water first. Step outside. Have your pumpkin seeds. Then sit down with your coffee and enjoy it like the ritual it should be. One of my patients, Theodore, 66, told me this single shift gave him back something he hadn't felt in 15 years, the ability to wake up energized without needing anything in his hand. He said it was like meeting an old version of himself. And now, number 1, the one Daniel built his morning around, the one I was hinting at when I told you the men who thrive in their 70s and 80s have this in their kitchens. Number 1 is a small spoonful of raw honey stirred together with a 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric, mixed into warm, not hot, water, taken on an empty stomach. Let me tell you why this combination is so quietly powerful. Turmeric contains a compound called curcumin, and curcumin does something inside your blood vessels that I think of as restoring elasticity. Imagine a rubber band that's been left out in the sun for years, stiff, brittle, prone to snapping. That's what aging blood vessels become. Curcumin softens them. It makes them supple again. It allows them to expand and contract the way they did when you were 30. And gentlemen, when your blood vessels can expand again, every single thing in your body that depends on circulation comes back to life. Your heart works less hard, your brain receives more oxygen, and yes, what happens below the belt becomes possible again, naturally, the way it was always supposed to. But here's the part most people miss. Curcumin on its own is poorly absorbed. Your body barely registers it. You can take turmeric capsules for months and feel almost nothing. Unless, and this is the secret, unless you pair it with something that unlocks it. Raw honey. Real raw honey, the kind that's thick and golden and slightly crystallized, contains natural enzymes and trace compounds that dramatically increase how much curcumin your body can actually use. The honey is the key that opens the lock. Without it, the turmeric just passes through. And the honey itself, gentlemen, brings its own quiet gifts. Raw honey contains boron, a mineral that supports your natural testosterone levels. It feeds the beneficial bacteria in your gut, which we now know directly influences your hormone balance. And it provides a slow, steady fuel that your body burns cleanly. None of the crash you get from sugar. So here's exactly how Daniel did it, and exactly how I want you to do it. 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric powder, 1 teaspoon of raw honey, and I mean raw, the kind from a local beekeeper or a trusted source, not the squeeze bottle from the grocery store that's been processed until it's basically syrup. Put both into a mug. Add 8 ounces of warm water, warm enough to drink comfortably, never boiling because heat destroys the enzymes in the honey that we need. Stir until everything dissolves. Drink it slowly. That's it. That's the whole prescription. Every morning, before food, before coffee. When Daniel came back to see me 6 weeks later, the change wasn't loud, it was quiet. He stood a little straighter, his eyes looked clearer, his skin had that subtle color it gets when circulation comes back. He told me he'd started sleeping through the night again. He told me he was waking up before his alarm. And then, almost shyly, he said, "Doctor, my wife and I, we feel like we did when we first got married. Not because anything dramatic happened, we just both feel alive again." That's what this does, gentlemen. It doesn't shock your system. It returns your system to itself. Now, I want to be honest with you about something. This isn't magic, it's biology. It works because your body was always designed to thrive. It just stopped receiving what it needed. And it works only when you do it consistently. Not for a week, not for 10 days. Every morning, like brushing your teeth, until it becomes who you are. The men who write to me with the most remarkable results are not the men who tried the hardest. They're the men who showed up the longest. And here's the most important thing I want to leave you with, gentlemen. This isn't about chasing youth. It's not about trying to be 25 again. None of us want that anyway. This is about being present, fully, vibrantly present, for the people who need you. It's about being the husband whose wife still reaches for his hand. It's about being the grandfather who can get down on the floor and play, and more importantly, get back up again. It's about being there, strong and steady for decades to come. That is what your vitality is for, not vanity, legacy. So tomorrow morning, before anything else, I want you to do this. 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric, 1 teaspoon of raw honey, warm water, stir, drink. And then come back to this video in 3 weeks and tell me what changed. Because something will. I've seen it too many times to doubt it. Drop a comment below. Which of these 5 habits are you committing to for the next 21 days? I read every single one, and I want to know which one you're starting with. If you found something here that spoke to you, hit that subscribe button so I can keep showing up for you every week with the kind of straight talk your doctor doesn't have time to give you. I'm Dr. Jocelyn. Small steps, big results. I'll see you in the next one, and until then, gentlemen, take care of yourself, because someone is counting on it.